You guys struggled offensively last year. A lot of it had to do with COVID and injuries. But where have you seen the biggest improvements on that side of the ball?
Well, I think right now it's a work in progress, but there's no doubt that we've got to be better there. And I think first thing that comes to mind is consistency. You know, there were moments where each player, maybe a position group, did some good things, and certainly you've got to build on it. And yet I think as a group you've got to come together. And you also, I think, you have to realize, you know, how you can complement a defense that we have, and how can you complement, you know, the special teams units we're going to have. But I think it's coming together as a full group. I think that, you know, for us to be a good offense, it's going to take a lot of people. You know, we've got all got to come together on it, and certainly we've got guys that need to make plays when plays are needed to be made, and they've got to be able to do that on a consistent basis.
The one spot that still feels like a question mark there is running back.
Mm-hmm.
You've, of course, been so spoiled through the years with just incredibly talented backs. How do you see that group coming together? Who stood out?
You know, right now I think that is probably offensively, you know, the area that we've got to kind of finalize. Really, even as we get in camp, you know, we've got a lot of numbers right now, and I think as we finish up really our kind of first week of what would be kind of a 3-week camp, that, you know, who's going to get the bulk of the work. And, you know, we've tried to get everyone in and kind of find out a little bit more. A lot of them we didn't know about. You know, certainly we have a transfer come in Ches Malusi, but you want to find out a little bit more about him. And then Isaac Garendo's been here but hasn't had a lot of snaps. You know, started out as a receiver and then now as a running back. And then we've got a number of freshmen. Got a couple second-year guys. You know, Jalen Berger played 3-4 games last year, but not a ton. And so I think the first week was really find out who we were going to work with, and then these next 2 weeks are going to be big. Not as many guys getting all the reps, and they've got to kind of find out who is consistent and can do it over and over again.
Where is Graham Mertz taking the biggest steps?
I think he's done a nice job of kind of how he approached really the start of the off season throughout. You know, recognizes that, you know, he did do some good things, but more importantly, there's areas that he can improve upon. And I think he's gone about by just kind of rolling up his sleeves and going to work. And I think that there's always a lot that can be done, you know, off the field and in meeting rooms and kind of studying, but there's nothing like going out and doing it. And, you know, you had camp or a preseason camp is the best reps you can get. Certainly we had 15 spring practices, but there I think he was getting an understanding. I think he's done a good job this summer of kind of learning from what he took in spring ball and now camp, and he's just got to make sure that, I think after this first week, now it's about how you're going to really play the game.
Defensively, you've got so much back from what was a fabulous defense a year ago. When you're in a position like that where your group is so experienced, is it a matter of refining what you do, or does that give you the luxury of maybe doing some new things?
I think that you always have to make sure that there's probably a balance, right? That you know, just because you had past success doesn't mean you're going to have future success, and you're going to, you know, there's going to be a different role. You know, we've got a few, you know, defensive linemen that'll play more that didn't play last year, and maybe a guy that's played might be doing a little bit different role there. And so I think that you got to strike that balance, and I think that our defensive staff, certainly led by Jimmy, but our whole staff does a really good job of kind of recognizing and playing to that, where you want to build on and keep doing some of the things that you've done well. And then really I think the strength of any coach, and I think our defense coaches do a nice job, is, okay, maybe it's for this guy. You know, what can he do that fits his wheelhouse that maybe doesn't impact the 10 other guys?
You mentioned Ches Malusi as one of the new faces. Who are some other newcomers that have stood out to you early on here?
Yeah, it's you know, he's the one that's probably been able to get the most reps, and then you've got a group of freshmen, you know, that kind of flashed, and you see something, and then now it's, can they do that repeatedly, you know, and start to do it where you can build some confidence, and maybe for them to build confidence in themselves and go. So I think there's a number of guys that kind of put themselves on the radar, and then now it's, you know, can they sustain that over the course of the next 2 weeks?
Anyone in particular?
No, you know, I think I've got some in my mind, but I think it's almost unfair to them.
Fair enough.
That you're putting that pressure on them and that expectation. And yet I think there is a group that I get excited thinking about and anxious to see how kind of the next week of camp goes.
You open with conference play, and not just a conference game, but a really good opponent in Penn State. How does that change the mindset in training camp?
You know, I would like to think that your players, you know, we've got a challenging schedule, and that's what you want to have, right? You come to the University of Wisconsin, you're playing in the Big Ten, and so there's a balance, right? That you're not just preparing for the first game. You've got to prepare for the season, and yet at the same time, I think there has to be and should be all the time, but if you're kind of on that fence, I think it helps push you over. Like day one, we've got a tremendous challenge ahead of us, right? Anytime you get an opener, it's a big deal. And then for us to have an opener, all right, at home, and then you add on the fact that it's conference play, that adds it. And then, like you said, Penn State, a really talented, good, well-coached football team. That's about all you can ask for. And so, camp is about preparing for the whole season, but certainly, there's a piece of it that you better have a purpose to every day because it's coming and it's going to come fast.
Paul Chryst, always a pleasure. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Great seeing you. Thanks for being here.
Happy to be joined by Kendrick Pryor, who has an opportunity to be a part of, really, I think, could be a dynamic wide receiver core. How's camp been going so far for this group?
I think it's been going pretty good. You can kind of tell that you got the experience with me, Danny, and then, Tim, with him getting that experience, Jack Dunn, and then also the younger guys just coming in, taking that extra time, meeting with Coach Witt, asking us questions, just trying to figure out the little details and plays or why we doing this and why doing that, or like what's the purpose of this, and them just kind of taking that extra step and putting in that extra work so we can have like a dynamic group.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to see you guys in person for about a year, but it to me seems like the group and the offense and the team really has a lot more bounce to it right now. What do you think that's about?
Just kind of last year, just having that rough season that we had, COVID played a part, but that COVID played a part for everybody, and then just our mindset this offseason in the summertime, just us running routes, doing stuff with the quarterback, just trying to be perfect, work on those little details that, we may not have worked on last year, and just wanting to be great, wanting to perfect our craft, and then just taking in what Coach Witt's teaching us, just all the extra time we putting in, meeting with him, just him telling us certain stuff, trying different things in our routes, just all that stuff, taking that extra time this summer and really working with Graham, Chase, Danny, and Deacon, just working with them this summer just so we can be that dynamic group this year.
How have you changed or developed and started to become that leader I think a lot of people thought you were going to be?
Just taking that next step. People kind of know me as the quiet, laid back, like not say too much, but no, this being my 6th year, just kind of me playing in a lot of games, playing against a lot of good DBs, seeing a lot of good defenses, and just trying to teach the younger guys or tell them bits and pieces of what I've seen and why I do certain stuff, and then kind of so they can kind of be ahead of where I was at their age. So when their time comes to shine, they're way ahead of what I was.
Looks like you guys have a great rapport with the quarterback, with Graham. What have you guys been doing to really continue to develop that?
Just kind of, it goes back to the summertime, just always kind of putting that extra time with Graham, me and Danny, Tim, just hitting them up. Are you trying to get some extra routes in, or you want to throw today? You trying to spot routes? What you want us to do? Like just doing that type of stuff, and then like kind of sometimes sitting in the QB room, just picking their brain, seeing what they're thinking. Kind of, we have our stuff, but QBs they have they got to look at stuff differently than us, and just sitting there trying to see, okay, like why do you think this, and like what are you thinking when you see this play, like, or kind of what do you want us to do? You feel, or what do you like, where you want us to be, where you want us to do, kind of things like that.
Has the preparation changed, having a Big Ten game being the first one?
I wouldn't necessarily say it changed, but, it is kind of when you're starting off with a Big Ten opponent, it kind of makes things a little more juice, Kind of Penn State, that's not a team that we get to play all the time since they're on the east side of the conference. And then just kind of, since I've been here, kind of lost in Big Ten my freshman year and then losing in 2018, just kind of having want to, get a W against them, just kind of having that juiced up mindset that, we need to come out here every day just ready to work, just stay on our stuff and just be ready to work when it's our time.
Well, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. Stay healthy and have a great year.
Oh, no problem.
Jim Leonhard has been linked to several openings at the NFL level because that's the level his defense plays at. Badgers riding a streak of 13 straight with at least one takeaway, the longest streak in the Big Ten. Joshua Perry has more with one of the UW stars at linebacker, Jack Sanborn.
Pleased to be joined by the outstanding linebacker, Jack Sanborn. You're a few practices into training camp now. How would you say things have gone so far?
I think things are going well. I mean, just speaking for us as a defense, I think everyone is just in that process of, getting back to playing football, especially these past few days, putting the pads on and everything. The most important thing, guys are excited to be out there, which you want to see. And, it's all about just progressing.
How would you characterize the identity of your defense?
Physical. I mean, I think that's what not only our defense, our whole team, and what we are here at Wisconsin is physical. And, we want to be the ones that are the most physical team out there. Don't let them run the ball on us. And I think it goes hand in hand.
Last year was such a strange year. What does it feel like to be back in a normal training camp, looking forward to a normal season?
Yeah, not only a normal training camp, just a normal off season in general. I mean, winter, spring ball, summer conditioning, and now fall camp. It feels normal and it feels good to be back.
Get you out of here on this one. You open up with a conference opponent, obviously a big game. What is your preparation for opening up with such a big opponent like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't really change much. You just know that it kind of, especially coming off last year, and think no matter who we were playing, I think no matter what, every guy is going to be just itching to get back into Camp Randall and play in front of all those fans. But, now you have Penn State coming into town, nobody's been to Camp Randall in 2 years, whatever it's been. So I think just all of that, I think every guy is just excited, including myself. And, it matters what we do in the next 2 weeks to get ready for that.
Tell us a little bit about your defensive mentors.
I would say top two, just guys I was around the longest, Rex Ryan, Mike Pettin. Understanding you have to have multiple ways to fix a problem. Your defense has to understand that. Offenses are too talented. They know how to utilize space and skill and speed, and you have to have multiple ways to react to that, to always try to keep them guessing, always present a little bit different problem for them. Otherwise, you're playing catch up all game long. And we've done a pretty good job, I think, in the past of kind of staying ahead or having an answer if something gives you trouble in game.
Coach, this is always a fun stop to come watch these guys play. And it seems like forever we haven't seen them. But one thing that jumps out is this is a physical football team and a well-coached football team. What were your initial impressions?
Well, I think they're further along than the schools that we've already been to for a couple of reasons. They're really solid at quarterback. Now, A.J. Martinez is a returning starter at Nebraska, so I don't discount that. But Graham Mertz looks like how he left off last year when he was really in rhythm. Jim Leonhard has most of the defense back, and he called it aggressive practice today. I mean, they're getting after you. And typical of Wisconsin, the offensive and defensive lines look good. The one place they've been spoiled at is tailback, but my guess is they'll figure that out.
Yeah, I think they'll be able to ultimately get it done by committee before that one guy jumps out. But you talked about Mertz, and I think it's important that he has a healthy Danny Davis back out there, Kendrick Pryor. I think these two have an opportunity to really be dynamic at the wide receiver position. Then you add Ferguson at the tight end. And this offense has a chance to be dynamic.
The other thing that jumped out at me, Howard, is Paul Chryst coaching the quarterbacks. He looks like a quarterback coach. During certain drills, that's all he's coaching. And if I'm a quarterback and I'm getting coached by the head coach, that's a pretty good deal.
It kind of reminds us a little bit of when Russell Wilson showed up on campus, and he was doing a great job of coaching him, getting him prepared. But this is a team I think is really going to be out there. I think they're the best team that we've seen thus far, and talent-wise and physically, they just look the part.
They got a pretty good opening game, too.
Yeah, it's a good test.